Florida alt-rock band Glasshouse Point seamlessly blends genres and various elements into their sound that truthfully make it so unique and really music to your ears. With their most recent single, Wash Me Over, it's no different. Please welcome Glasshouse Point.
How's it going, guys?
Hello. If you guys just want to introduce yourself and what you do in the band so people listening to the audio version know.
Cool. Yeah, I'm Dylan Graham. I sing, play guitar.
Yeah, I'm Ian. I play bass and keys.
Nice. Well, welcome. And again, like I say, it's early for me, but it's literally only 1 o'clock. What was the first thing you guys listened to this afternoon?
I listened to this band. Actually, they're from St. Pete, called Polly and So. And I think the song was Pocket Knife Shadow. That's what I listened to first thing today.
Today, I just listened to some demos that we have, like just some iPhone recordings that we go through a lot of. Mixed out.
Sick.
I listen to music while I sleep half the time, which probably explains my insane Spotify numbers, but most last night I listened to deep sleep or something, so I woke up to a droning noise and I was like, I don't hate this, but I also feel like I'm in a trance.
Yeah, I love that stuff. I always have some kind of
background,
some kind of crazy hertz in the background of with some waterfall playing in the background when I record or stuff like that. It just brings peace to the area.
Yeah. Well, I go through everyone's I listened to the Lumineers at one point while I slept, and then at one point I just shuffled them while I was driving, and I was like, how the fuck do I know all these words? And I was like, this is really bizarre.
Probably digesting a little bit of that.
You sleep, you're like, oh, hey.
If I did that, if I had music playing while I was sleeping, I think the Spotify algorithm would just be throwing on Turnstile and shit, and I would probably not be able to sleep.
I would be so afraid if out of nowhere Turnstile just came up in the middle. I think I would panic, and I've gotten really into them in the last couple weeks.
Yeah.
And still just I'd wake up in a panic.
Maybe I'd have a really crazy dream, or I'm just doing some badass stuff. That's what I think would happen.
I used to have a really strong alarm,
yeah.
So yeah.
So what did you guys kind of listen to growing up?
You can start.
I don't know. Honestly, music in a weird way wasn't a massive part of my life. I mean, it was, but I didn't grow up actually kind of unlike a lot of the guys in the band where my parents were super into music. Not that they weren't into music, but I think the first band that I ever heard that really got me interested was Red Hot Chili Peppers, and that was in elementary school. And then through middle school and stuff, I started listening to hardcore music and stuff like that, and getting into rock. And then I think that eventually changed to indie for me. But that's just kind of the progression that happened for me. Oh, and then I had a huge folk phase. I forgot about that. Early high school, that was a huge thing. So,
nice.
Yeah.
No, I mean, same thing with the Peppers. My parents played a lot of Peppers growing up. A lot of Pink Floyd, some Led Zeppelin, a little Metallica, some classics. I had an older brother who put me into a lot of old school hip hop. That was a big part of it too.
Yeah.
But personally, I love the Killers and the Foo Fighters when I was growing up.
Heck yeah. And I think that it's really interesting talking to people about what they listened to as a child, and then how that evolved into I guess middle school, when you kind of deter from what your parents have listened to, and whether that be your siblings' influences or just the people around you. I remember, so my first concert was Tim McGraw. I was 6 years old, and I remember wearing the t-shirt pretty close after the show, and people were like, what the and that was I was 6 in kindergarten. People were like, why are you wearing a country man on your shirt? And then middle school, it was very hip hop and R&B, like Nicki Minaj was really big when I was in middle school, late middle school. So it's just so interesting to see how that affects you and what you listen to then too.
For sure.
Yeah, no, it's
that middle school era is pretty telling.
Wild.
I think for anybody. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, gosh, you could define a whole person off of what they were into in middle school.
That was a whole music was just going so fast.
It's like instead of like I guess star signs like big three, just like give me your big three from eighth grade and
Yeah, right.
and let's deter from that. Which I couldn't even. Mine would probably be like Sleeping with Sirens.
About to say,
That probably would be one for me too.
like Pierce the Veil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then like one like oddball one that would just be like, yeah, I'm still pretty cool.
Yeah, I was listening to a lot of like Odd Future, early Tyler the Creator stuff. Was
Oh yeah.
his edgy stuff.
So what is like I guess the romantic tale that had brought you guys all together and like what kind of created the band and brought you guys to where you are today?
Yeah. Basically, we're just most of us are childhood friends, and childhood being like middle school. I met Ian in 7th grade. I moved to Florida from Arizona. My dad like had lost his job in Arizona, got a job over here in Florida. I walked into class one day, saw Ian. I heard he had played like guitar, and like part of me was like, I was like already the second I saw him, I was like, we can maybe start a band. I don't know if he's like, I don't know if like he's my vibe, but yeah, we're really close friends. Our other member, Dylan, there's 2 Dylans. Dylan Method, who plays guitar, was a year older than us at school. And then at one point we had to change drummers, and we met Jansen, who was our drummer. And he was in a band like just in the same hometown, so he was like the one oddball out. But you know, really, we just all met in high school, and like we've been doing this for a really long time.
We were all just super close.
Yeah,
Like,
we all wanted to be in a band.
We've all lived together at some points, been roomies,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
Dylan and Jansen live together
Yes.
still and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So, but it's,
And you guys haven't killed each other yet, and I applaud you for that.
Yeah, there's some times for
There's some
sure.
times.
It's a brotherhood for sure. It's like family. It's blood. So
you know,
it's been a long time.
honestly, we've been through so much at this point. Like,
Yeah, it's pretty
there's
crazy.
really like we'd have to really mess up.
Yeah. yeah, I agree.
That's so funny. So, you guys, I don't know exactly. Are you guys from like Tampa or like Orlando-ish?
We grew up in Lakeland.
It's like in between.
Okay, yeah.
But we
Yeah.
live all in St. Pete now.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Lakeland.
So-
I actually went to UT too, and so we kind of all ended up going to school like Tampa area, and then now we're all in St. Pete because we just all love St. Pete, and that's kind of what is starting to feel like home for us.
Oh yeah.
That's yeah. We talked about this a little bit before. I went to UT. When did you go? If this is you don't have to answer this.
I had
already, you know?
Yeah, I went.
Swift.
Trying to think. Well, I graduated high school in 2016.
Oh, nice.
And then I like it's so funny like our story too. Like we were that honestly right when we went to college is like really where we were doing a lot of our touring and going really hard. And yeah, I just like tried to book it out there as fast as possible so that you know we could continue doing music. So I graduated 2019. So
Holy
I was there
shit.
for only a couple years, like 2.5 years. But yeah, it was cool. I love UT. So yeah.
I transferred, so I did not enjoy UT.
True. Okay.
But I was there. I graduated in 2015, so I started 2015, and I was there until 2018. No,
Okay.
2017, and then I transferred that summer.
Okay. Gotcha.
Then I went to UCF, so
Okay. Nice.
I stayed down there. And the Tampa scene is really interesting to me because growing up around the DC area, like it was heavy punk, hip hop
cool,
was
sick.
kind of like the main stuff.
Yeah. some
which is, like, where I-
sausages there, dude. DC. Yeah.
Which is like where I ended up listening mostly, at least like personally. And then when I moved to Tampa, it was like here's all this alt pop happening, and like obviously there's like a huge like alternative rock radio station down there that's like very prevalent in like the community. I would like to say, at least from my experience.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, 7X. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah, it's an interesting scene for sure. We've watched it blossom and you know I'm trying to think of less dismal word. Like it's fluctuated over the years.
You know?
Yeah, we've watched it rise from the ashes and burn. No, it's cool though. Like there's a lot of awesome people in the scene. I think for us, I mean, it opened a lot of doors for us. That's like kind of if it wasn't for Tampa, we would like have just really probably never even made it out of Central Florida. Just because like especially a few years ago, there was such like a prevalent scene, like you're saying, of like alternative music, and I think it's a little hard now, only because a lot of the venues have closed.
Yeah.
Only one that was able to hold on was Crowbar. Obviously, they need to do what they need to do to survive, so there's a lot less local shows. And then St. Pete, is awesome music scene. But there's a little bit of a lack of like the original music. It's not as much like not necessarily original music. I guess there's people with original music, but not like alternative, not like what we're doing.
It's really jazz, reggae.
Yeah, we're kind of trying to put all on the map again in St. Pete, and figure out a way to do that. There's not even like really any venues to play in St. Pete that are proper venues. But that's what we're trying to do. That's like our one of our missions right now.
The city's been really receptive to it.
Yeah,
like, honestly.
and people here are awesome. The people want it. It's just a matter of like logistics or something, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, because the big one was what, Local 662?
Yeah,
it's a
closed.
biscuit company.
Yeah, now it's Maple Street. Yeah.
I mean, I don't hate Maple Street.
Yeah, no,
I enjoy Maple
I
Street.
go. I hate to say it. I go. They just opened the State Theater again. But it's called the Floridian Social Club. It's kind of more like focused on a bar, like quaint vibe. They're doing a lot more cover stuff. They're starting to bring bills on for bands. So there's still like seating and stuff.
It's still jazzy. Yeah, there's like seating, like
yeah.
stools,
It's not what
tables.
it used to be, but like I think there's some potential there. We were just talking to them a little bit ago, and like I know they're trying to get some stuff going more. So like fingers crossed, we'll kind of have like a reignition, and like hopefully in St. Pete, because I think there's some more stuff going on here than Tampa nowadays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even Orlando too is like, I feel like Orlando has more of like the punk scene. I have a couple friends who play a bunch of Will's Pub shows, so it's like it's popping over there with like punk. So do you guys ever fall into like Orlando show? I'm sure you do, but like how do you guys fall in the Orlando scene being in
it's
that?
funny when we come to Orlando, it's usually people kind of from like the Tampa area or like Gainesville coming through to Orlando, and we're either support, or we have a show lined up that they're coming out for us there. Or if national acts coming through, like Western Sun and stuff like that, going through and doing, just doing
we haven't done Orlando actually like too recently, but like that's kind of like that was I would say that was like our second hometown for sure. So we have a lot of experience there. We know a lot of homies there. We know so many of the bands there. I think it's something that like you'll probably see us play in Orlando a lot more, I would hope, because again too, like even with this most recent song and like a lot of our music, categorizing our music's a little weird sometimes. Not saying it's impossible to categorize. It's obviously alternative, there's indie elements, there's all this stuff, but we kind of like we tiptoe around this line of like what do I put on a playlist with this to a degree. And I think a lot of our influences, like I was saying earlier, like actually come from like rock, you know what I mean? So like
rock
and so we're kind of gravitating towards that. And if you see like the live show, like we try to go as hard as we possibly can. So I think Orlando is a really cool scene for that reason. Hopefully maybe we can get out there and maybe we just start playing with punk bands. That is something that I would be down to do. And we can just be the softer band. I'm cool with that. But I kind of want to do some crazy shit. Like so Orlando is awesome. I'm already getting excited playing it. We're gonna book an Orlando show after this interview. So
heck yeah, let me know. I'll fly down.
Okay, awesome.
I love like investing into like chatting about like music scenes, especially because like I've seen like the Tampa scene, I've seen the Orlando scene, and then like the DC Baltimore scene is so different, and like hearing about everybody else's music scenes just fascinates me because of like the band I just got off of an interview with before this they're like very much alt pop, but they're in like the Midwest emo scene, and like having that like pipeline that exists, so there's like a lot of fans that fall into that. So it's just like very interesting to me to like kind of chat about that, and I'm glad that like we could relate on that because I've experienced like both of the scenes down there, so I'm very excited about that. And I mean, we've already kind of started talking about your two most recent singles, Always Fading and Wash Me Over, are fantastic. They're very like hazy, and I like them a lot, and they're just like a lot of good energy and a lot of good I hate using the term good vibes personally. But that is what I'm like, it's just like very good. Can you talk about like the production of them? Did you guys self-produce them? Did you guys work with another producer? What did the production for those look like?
I think let's see, both of those kind of started, were those pandemic babies? Like, did we start?
Yeah, they're both pretty old songs. Like, we actually finished them. We have some new stuff coming too that is going to be kind of bundled with this, but we finished recording those December 2019.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
So yeah, I guess they were pandemic. Wait, no. Oh,
before.
That's before, yeah.
Yeah, so I remember we started off with both of those songs. Well, I think the big one for me was Always Fading, because that song had like a whole different kind of focus around a different part that became like we like really like we were like it was a sequencer that we were gonna have in the background, like be the lead, and like for months it sat in our demos and it sat that way, and we even made our guitar player, another keyboard player, like learn it because we wanted him to be able just to play it live rather than hitting like play on something. And we get into the studio, and our producer Evan heard it, and he was like, "Oh no, it's not that, it's this." And he just like cranked up like the bass synth and made it real dirty, and that's where that dun 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 like kind of came from.
Yeah.
And it just really changed it, and that was a really cool one because what usually happens is Dylan will have some parts, and like he'll send me like a Logic file, and I'll mess around with it, and then we'll get together and mess around with it some more, and then it kind of stops, and then we'll take it to our boys in the band room, and our drummer and our guitar player, and then they'll put their spice on it, and then
we let Evan Eliason is the producer we've been working with at a Vanguard studio in Lakeland, actually. So kind of going back to our roots. So we'll drive all the way to Lakeland to work with him. It was formerly Aaron Marsh's studio from Copeland, who we worked with on our last record, and now Evan's kind of like in his studio now, and Evan is kind of responsible for like the sound of those two songs, because those are the first two songs. So he's our producer, but then like as Ian's saying, like to give ourselves some credit too, producer is such like a big word, because he's the head producer.
He's
like,
the engineer
and the engineer and the mixing guy, and like he has the whole pipeline. But we do a lot of producing of the sound like on our own, and then we kind of take what could almost be like a completed song, like if we didn't care about the quality. Not that it's even bad quality, like it's just awesome with mixing and stuff too. So we have usually something like really good, and like we'll actually bring a full session, so like into Evan. And it's like, like you can go through solo parts, like here's parts we have muted that like we didn't even know how to use, and he'll pull all those into a session, and then we just start re-recording them. And then crazy stuff happens, but kind of pulling it all back in terms of producer, like Evan, though, he's awesome, and he really kind of has helped us like bring that. He's a pop producer too, so he's like really like, I think we do some stuff sometimes where we're just like more distortion, and he's like but like really helped us, like we've kind of met in the middle with the sound, and like we made a really like unique sound with him.
It's cool. It's cool what he makes too.
So shout out to him too, Evan Eliason, check him out.
Vanguard Room. They're all great there. Bryce and Casey.
Matt, it's a whole group of awesome people.
Aaron's awesome.
And Aaron too.
Heck yeah. And I think that like the whole conversation about music producers could go like millions of miles long, and I think it's so fascinating to kind of like divulge into producers and like people who put different stamps on their sounds and stuff like that. So I love to hear that you guys have like really met in the middle and like meshed together to get those tracks. Is he working on future stuff that I'm assuming we teased?
We have some more stuff in the works, and we hope not any spoilers or anything too, but like we have one that should be rolling out really, really, really soon. We're kind of doing the single game, and it's like kind of funny how like each track is kind of informing the next one a little bit, like Always Fading, and then being like, I wonder what's going to come next. And there's some of the aggressiveness of this last one, not that the whole song is aggressive, but some of it is going to manifest a little more with the next one.
It's funny, it's like how a lot of bands kind of go like softer. Like
we're trying to go
in the
harder.
opposite direction.
We
We had these folk roots and like these softer kind of alleyways, and it's funny because even you talking like you say you grew up with like Chili Peppers, but like when we started like hanging out, like
when we started doing this band, it was all Mumford & Sons straight up.
But you were listening to like Sleeping with Sirens, and, like, all those bands, and then we switched to Mumford & Sons and like the Lumineers and Boy and Bear, and all these these folk and kind of indie guys. And,
which is awesome because that's part of the songwriting too. Like we're proud of that too, because a lot of like the songwriting has gone from writing on acoustic guitar and then learning chords.
So writing on this.
So now we have these drum machines. So it's like now we're doing it totally differently. But yeah, like you said, I know we got away from the original question. What the hell were we talking about?
I forgot.
It was
Yeah.
Evan, yes,
Producers, yeah.
and more stuff to come. Yeah, we're the next kind of stuff, like, you know, whether our stuff is going to be a record or whatever. Honestly, we can't even answer that question yet. But basically, like, this next phase of what we're doing is working with Evan. Is things are going to be kind of sounding like they sound from a production standpoint, but we're really experimenting with our sound, and like each song is going to be a different vibe, and it's going to be like, you know, probably make it even more confusing as to what genre we are, and that's kind of the whole point of what we're trying to do.
Yeah,
That's the end game. Let's
Yeah.
confuse everybody.
100%. Yeah.
No, and I think that is great, because I think that there's so many bands out there that don't, allow the exploration of other sounds. And I think that for you guys, I think it's going to be great. And I'm just very excited to hear all of it. And I'm really ready to hear like the smash next. I'm ready.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Yeah, it's a cool one.
And I want to bring up something you mentioned a little bit, the single game. That is something so popular right now in music releases, and I'm very curious of your thoughts on that. I know that specifically Spotify plays to the single game, and putting out a whole project, I don't think Spotify is as like gamey with that. And I know nothing technical other than what I see from like a consumer standpoint. So I'd love to hear, like, as an artist, like what you guys kind of like your thought process behind that, and making it, is it just kind of like we just want to release as we want to release, or is it kind of just like what this kind of like developing process and like playing around process is for you guys?
I mean, it's weird because like I really do love albums, and I love like the story that albums tell.
For sure.
And and so for me recently, I mean, I was all over like playlists on Spotify like 3 or 4 years ago. I loved like going to my Discover Weekly, making a playlist of just like single songs. And I've kind of had a shift recently to where like I kind of want more from an artist, because we're kind of in that boat now too, where it's like, why do I need to feel so boxed into just one genre or one sound when there's so much coming out now that we can make, and it's so accessible for people to make stuff just through like services that like Arcade and Black Friday sales and stuff on that, and Ableton has a free version. It's getting a lot easier for people to make music, and stuff's just changing so much in music now that there's a lot of alleyways for us to really make stuff that's different each time. So for us, I feel like singles are kind of what's a good way for us, because we haven't really sat down and been like, well, happy in some ways with like how one song turns out as opposed to like as a group of songs yet. We've not done the album game. And so I mean, even personally too, I found that EPs have been awesome lately. I'm just getting a small sample of like an artist. There's been a few different artists that I've been seeing a lot lately, like Avlov, and they're Gutting a Body of Water, some heavier bands that have now pushed this, kind of hardcore Midwest genre into something more indie, but also electronic. And that's something that we're definitely taking from too.
Yeah. And like, short form answer for me to a degree too, but then I'll probably start going crazy in depth. That's how both of us are. Both Sagittarius. We're like 10 days apart in age. It's crazy. But yeah, I mean, honestly, I think for us right now, it's actually works, because I think more so than ever before, the single game has been benefiting us from like even like an artistic standpoint, where we're kind of like navigating, obviously not just like art and making music, but like a freaking pandemic and like all these things, like just growing up, like all these things. And so I think the single game is actually kind of helping us like navigate some stuff. But then to answer the question in terms of like, Spotify incentivizing releasing singles, because here's the thing is, it's like it's going to cost us just as much money to do 10 singles. I mean, it's actually not really, because like releasing the songs, but like 10 singles as it will to be releasing a 10-song album, and we work, we have to grind for that money to make this happen. We have to push this band really hard to make it happen. So I think it's unfortunate, because I think ultimately, if you look at it as like a body of work, like a song's made up of different parts, and then an album's made up of different songs that are made up of different parts, an album's a higher art form, arguably. So It just is. It's harder to do, like, obviously. So it does kind of suck a little bit on that point. But again, I think with where we are right now, we'd probably be releasing singles regardless. But I do, I hope it would be cool one day. I have zero hope for this, that it could shift back to something, not even like back to something, but like where independent artists could release an album and be incentivized to do so. Not like,
not trying to fight with
For sure.
the money machines that record labels provide.
But Spotify pretty much makes the decision for you, if you're smart, that you should be releasing singles, in my opinion, unless you've achieved a level or you have backing that makes it make sense to do an album.
Yeah, that's very interesting points. And I personally, like, as like a consumer, I guess, I love albums and I love listening to them from front to back in exact order, like in meaningful order, because I assume that everything's made for a purpose to go in order. So like I'm very curious of, like, because I've definitely seen like I guess like lower number of artists that I like, at least, that haven't released albums. I like, specifically I'm thinking of the band Valley, because I love Valley, and they released Maybe, which is one of my favorite albums ever, and then now they've only done EPs, and I'm like, okay, yeah, that's really making sense that like they're playing to that, and they're already signed with like a label, and like a large label at that fact.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's really interesting.
Yeah, something interesting too is that, and I didn't even know this, but I know that whole like Adele, I don't know if you heard about that, where like Adele was all pissed at Spotify because I guess there was a feature, I didn't even know this was a thing, you could shuffle albums. So you could put on an album and press shuffle, and it would just play random, like, shuffle the album. And she was just like,
that makes... like between albums?
No. But instead of playing the songs in order, it would only play songs from that record, but it would jump from, like, song 1 to song 8.
That's always been a thing.
Really? Yeah. Anyways, they took that away, though. But again, it goes to show that, like, they're not, that the albums from, it doesn't make them as much money. So,
right.
Yeah.
Right, that whole Adele thing made me very happy, because it's like the big play button when you open an album, it's like it's automatically shuffled, but instead, like for me, I had to go to the first song, click the first song, turn off shuffle.
Wait, like, it was dude, honestly, I don't even like do my Discover Weekly or anything. I'm like kind of like don't know how Spotify works, so like I didn't know that it automatically shuffled, or like sometimes
there's like a big button that has like the shuffle.
That's whack. Yeah, well, good thing they, they're getting it. Maybe we're moving the needle in the right direction, so.
We'll see. With Spotify, at least. So, also, I want to bring up that, so I asked for everybody, I asked for everybody's, like, promotional photos. Dylan, you shot your own promotional photos for the...
Yeah, we I don't know which one they were, but yeah, like I got into photography a while ago, and then obviously these guys like helped too. Like we did like we call it art direction or whatever, but like getting everyone to go, especially Ian helping dress me straight up. Shout out. And yeah, like we had like a little remote shutter thing on the camera, and it got hard and weird during like the pandemic, and even trying to create opportunities outside of music. Yeah, we've done that, and then even our promo that we just recently did for like this record, like that was all us too, like kind of just like me editing and doing all this stuff, and then our other guitar player Dylan, like I'd be like, all right dude, like here are the settings, like just keep this in focus, like here you go, and like and it came out awesome, and so it's really cool. So we do some stuff, and like even that aside, like Glass House Point is doing some stuff that just other people don't do, but granted, we don't really need to be doing any of that, so maybe it's just more
we have to do our own project.
Yeah. No, that was cool. I'm very proud of how all those have come out.
I mean, we're trying to like save money too.
Yeah, that works too. Yeah, you save a little money.
It's
fun. Yeah, it's cool.
I think it's awesome and very impressive. And then also, Dylan, you're the one I've been talking to about planning this whole thing for the podcast, and I just like give you all the biggest props for like handling all of this and doing all of this. And like you said, during the pandemic, I'm sure that wasn't ideal, especially not having the extra hands, or you might need extra hands. So
appreciate that. Nice.
An interesting question, because you guys are going to have a little different answer, because Florida is Florida. No offense.
No.
But with the pandemic, how was that for you guys as a band? How is that adjusting to like the isolation that maybe happened around you guys that maybe
Yeah.
didn't? But did that kind of affect the way you guys approached music, approached releasing, approached the concept of, your band as a whole?
Oh, 100%. We were, we were ready to finishing up school and stuff like that up here, and we were ready to get going for shows, and start touring on these new songs and get all, our records. We had the last record we were working on with Aaron. We were getting ready to just record, play music, let's keep touring, and then that hit. And I think since then we've only really played like the meaningful venues, or shows that were, it's like been an opportunity where we felt like it was,
For
safe
sure.
and outside. It's really hard, even though Florida's very lax with its COVID restrictions, it's still really, really hard for a lot of these artists to even, get people out or,
For sure.
Just to feel comfortable.
Yeah, and also too, like even with Omicron and stuff too, like a lot of people and we were gonna book some shows supposedly, for this release, obviously, and actually kind of never got around to it, and not got around to it, but it was also okay, we're gonna kind of maybe do this with some other plans we have coming on later, and then everybody had to cancel their shows anyways. And not that everybody did cancel their shows or had to, a lot of people chose to, just because it was literally everyone's sick, ask somebody and they're sick.
It was going here, it's crazy for a little bit.
Yeah.
Everybody had it.
And I think way back, when COVID first hit, it had a big impact for us because we straight up did not post on social media for a whole year. So we called it a hiatus. When we came back, we're we got new music. That's when we dropped our last record for Glaw. But yeah, so we pretty much everything we just decided we were just gonna keep to ourselves. And then it did change, obviously, how we did music even too, because now we're in the studio with masks on. You know what I mean? You're communicating with the producer. You're and which is totally fine. But even not seeing a facial expression or stuff like that. So even intuitively, that's going to be a change of some degree, right? And not only that, the studio shut down for a while because of COVID. Because it just wasn't worth it. They didn't want to do anything, and we're okay, so how do we make music? And at the time, Ian and I lived together, so we would demo and stuff, and I don't know, it changed a lot of things. I don't know, I can't imagine, weirdly, a life without the pandemic happening, because so much has shifted because of it. It's insane.
Even recently, I was in a different project working in that same studio, and Bryce, one of the other engineers, got sick and he couldn't run the session, so we had to just go in blind, kind of just do our own thing in there. And
it's crazy.
It's been really weird. It's really weird. Sometimes we have a cover band that we use to kind of fund the projects too, and people will get sick, and then it's well, we can't really cancel this, so we're having to do 3-man shows or downtime.
There's been some hurdles and there's been some things, but I think ultimately we just adapted. You know what I mean? And that's kind of probably hear some of that in our new sound, and I think it's hard to even dissect exactly how things would have been different, but huge impact for sure.
I think as an exchange, we're trying to get more content out to our audience and be better about releasing more music and stuff like that, as opposed to having as much of our live show is such a big portion of it.
That was our thing.
Our thing.
It still is our thing.
It still is. But definitely shifting more towards an online presence and just to get that same interaction.
Which is a whole other thing these days, especially with the rise of the talk and all of that fun stuff.
Which is because we're kind of some grandpas sometimes when it comes to the online.
We're getting on the talk.
We're trying. We need to get on the talk. We're trying to get in the metaverse ASAP. First one's in. That's the plan, and then
first virtual studio.
That's what I'm saying.
I'll do it right now.
You're gonna be able to see the GHP show in the cosmos. That's the plan.
It's just the whole TikTok thing is a whole other conversation of I've had conversations with people who have done really well with it, and then people who are just I've tried, it's not for us, and I'm it's weird. And I think Chelsea Cutler did a whole kind of post about content creation as artists, and then artists doing content creation, and how that just like doesn't always have to intertwine. And right now there's just such a heavy presence of like having to be a content creator on top of an artist, and that's not what everybody signs up for. So it's just like such an interesting like game almost right now of like people trying and not trying, and having success and not having it's just so interesting to me as like a consumer.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think we've ever done a good job at that, but it's not something I'm like not proud of to say, because at the same time, it's not like we don't do a good job of it. Like, if you see our photography, if you see our videos, if you see any content we put out, it's freaking good content because we care about it, right? You know what I mean? Right. So something like TikTok, to a degree, doesn't play to our perfectionist like strengths, because perfectionism can be such like a weakness. At the same time, being obsessed about something you really care about, like, that's what drives me. I can speak for that. I think that's what drives all of us. And so we're trying to get a little bit better. We will play the game to a degree, but at the same time, a lot of the artists that I personally look up to, like Radiohead, for example, granted, they blew up in a totally different area. They can just do whatever the hell they want. It doesn't matter. But like, there are a lot of artists who just don't do it and are doing okay. Like, we forget about those artists, and there are some artists out there, A-list artists. Granted, they probably got A-list another time ago playing the game. But like, there are a lot of people who you know, you can make really good stuff and you can get traction without, you know, having to like smash a water balloon over your grandma's head on TikTok and at Glass House Point and be like, yo.
But what's crazy is you still need some kind of social media, though.
Yeah, that is true. There's unavoidable things.
There has to be some kind of alleyway, whether it's through Instagram, Twitter, Reddit, whatever.
It's insane. It's insane. And you mentioned live shows. I did want to bring this up. I've looked at some videos of your live shows, because I don't think I've seen you guys live, but I think I might have been at the same venue, and I just know at some point we've crossed paths, and I just can't pinpoint it, because I went to so many shows when I lived down there. But every video that I've looked up since then is insane. And can you kind of talk about like what 2022 looks like, whether that be more live shows? You kind of teased already, more music. Let's talk about what this year's got.
Yeah, I mean, maybe this will be a little planning strategy meeting, because quite frankly, I think to a degree, and almost not even in a bad way, like that's a kind of a little bit of a question mark for us too. Like, we know we're going to release new music, period. We know we're going to make more new music, and we know that kind of from here on out, what we want, and honestly what we need more than anything else, is to just kind of keep putting music out. So that's like for sure. For shows, you know, we're not actively like, even, and this happens every single time we drop a song. Like, we have a lot of homies hitting us up right now, like wanting to book shows and like wanting to book tours and wanting to show swap and stuff. And like, you know, so we can actually have some stuff to go through as a band, even when our other bandmates get back. They're both snowboarding, by the way. That's why they're on.
Sick. Nice invite. I would have gone. Come on.
Yeah, but yeah, like, I mean, I think obviously new music is what I'm getting at, and then I really want to do like a live video project we've talked about at our studio, so that we can kind of really share like what that live experience is, but not like the live show experience. I just want to share in a better way what a GHP live, I don't know, I guess it's not an experience, but just what we are like live. So that, and then, you know, we are going to book as many shows as we can, kind of within the guidelines of like just what makes sense. It's just so impossible now to like tell like, yo, is this worth spending a lot of time and money into doing this versus recording a song? And then there's a new variant of COVID, you know what I mean, in April. But yeah, I don't know, man. Like, do you want to book a tour this summer? What do you want to do?
I mean, that's kind of the same thing. We kind of are just, we're going to wait to see what a lot of the larger acts are doing. And while we still have a lot of these festivals that are still happening, like this When You Were Young Fest and all those crazy, like,
we're trying to get added to that.
Hell yeah.
I think it's really more so just us being a little more cautious and just wanting to make sure that everyone's safe. And I think I think our fans appreciate it too.
Yeah, for sure.
And we just want to make sure that they're cool with us playing shows again too. We wouldn't want to, we're eager as heck to get out there and back on stage. And we definitely, almost more than artists, are performers, and we really like to be like, we've always liked playing live, and so we're definitely itching to get back out there. I can see maybe like a couple hometown shows, some show swaps, but I wouldn't expect like our old school every couple of weekends you get a DHP,
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Yeah, no. So I think we'll probably have some stuff. There'll be some stuff, but nothing too crazy. And then I think again, a lot of what we're trying to do too is like work out how we, not play the game as in the TikTok stuff and all that, but like in terms of like putting music out there, like I would love to, have 8 more songs. I mean, that's like, that's a lot for us at least, but like 8 more songs out that people can really like, start getting deeper and deeper into the band and what we're about. Because it's funny when people come to a show too. It's like if you know, and if you don't know, you don't know. But if you like listen to us and you come to a Glass House Point show, you're gonna be like, oh, I get it now. I didn't get it before, because it's like it's different. We've always had a hard time of like, even with our content, right? Like explaining what it is that we're doing here, like the world we're building. Like we're very surreal and whatever, but like that's kind of what we want, is for our music to be like a different world. Like this is like you're stepping into an experience.
With our past music too, it's just we never hit those production marks. Yeah. And now we have a producer who's really kind of getting into our world. Yeah. He understands like what we need from the sounds sonically. Yeah. How to put that into.
So even as I'm talking, it's all unfolding here. But essentially, like that's our focus, right? And we want to play live shows. We've connected with some really awesome booking agents the last year. So hopefully if there's a cool national that comes through, big or small, that if they're similar to us, might get put on. Like we just played with a band last show we did in November, and I loved them. Actually really inspired me, called Little Image.
Oh, yeah.
With Bad Sons right now for their new record tour. They were awesome. We got to open for them. Very thankful for that. So maybe a couple of those. We're trying to get in the Orlando punk scene. That's happening now.
What's crazy is that venue's gone.
Oh yeah, and we played that at I don't know if you're familiar with the venue Soundbar.
Yeah. They closed it, didn't they?
Yeah, they just closed it. So we were like one of the last shows, and there was like
hell yeah.
And they saw us play there, and they were like, all right.
Like, that's it. Can't go better than this.
Oh, we can't do this anymore. Yeah.
Wow. Well, I'm excited to see whatever you guys end up doing. I am here along the way, and I'm ready to support. And if you end up in the DC area, I'll be there. Yeah. Maybe I'll end up at an Orlando show or Tampa show. You never know.
Yeah, we'll definitely get up there at some point. So we'll have to stay in touch and make it happen.
Hell yeah. Well, do you guys want to play a game called Quick Pick, where I make you quick pick a song with a very specific scenario that I give you? You just tell me what songs come to your head.
Yeah, let's run it.
All right. You're walking in the middle of the woods at night, and you can hear branches and brushling and whatever. And this song comes onto your Spotify, whatever, gets shuffled, and all of a sudden you just gotta run. You get freaked out. What song is it? Naturally, I pick The Sound of Silence.
Gosh, this is a hard game.
I would pick Tick Tick Boom by MF Grimm and MF Doom. It's just that the speed of the song constantly just goes up and down and then way back up, and it's creepy.
Gosh, song that I just need to like run.
Why should you call it Tick Tick?
Gosh, I don't know. Maybe like the music to like Halloween or something. I don't know. I think most of the music that I listen to, like even if it was something super scary, I just start vibing. So yeah, I gotta
chill you out.
What would it be though? If you're really creeped out, you're scared.
I don't know. Maybe like Duality by Slipknot. There you go. Okay. That's the first Slipknot song I can think of.
Nice. All right, so the next one is you're playing a sport, whatever sport that looks like in your head, and you've made it to the big leagues. You're picking your walkout song. What song is it? I love Bleachers, and I'm thinking right now Big Life by Bleachers.
Cool.
All right, I got this one because this is what I'm going to listen to at the gym. Trademark by Baby Keem.
Oh shoot! You said Baby Keem. That means you want to mosh pit by Baby Keem.
Dude.
No. Because all right, I was gonna say "Fight Song" by Marilyn Manson, but I think I'm gonna go "Mosh Pit" by BB King or "On Sight" by Kanye.
We're both Baby Keem.
That's okay. I'm down for it. And lastly, you are on the way home from a date. You're driving the date home. They're in the car, but it went terribly. You have to pick the song that plays, and whatever cuts the awkwardness, tension, whatever's happening there. What song are you picking? I'm gonna go "Cheater," and I'm gonna pick alphabetically "A-Team" by Ed Sheeran, because then we'll just go A to Z.
There you go. All right. Facts. I'm gonna pick "Feel It All Around" by Washed Out, the Portlandia theme song.
Nice.
Nice.
This would totally. I wouldn't actually do this, but what's coming to my head is I think it's Wicca Phase Eternal of Springs Eternal.
Wicca Phase Springs Eternal.
I don't think it's Spiderweb. It's the other one. It's like I love her and I feel so bad for her. What is that one? I don't know. That one. Yeah, I don't know. That it's emo enough, but it's vibey. You know.
It's Tiger's Jaw guy.
Yeah. So I would play that.
That one is like my favorite one to ask. I feel like everybody gives a really funny answer, and you could go like way differently. You could like sometimes I respond and I just say like a really like a rap song. I'll be like, yeah, WAP would be funny to play in the car, and I'm driving. I'm like, this went terribly. We're just gonna listen to WAP. It's like how to cut the silence.
Sandstorm.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, thank you guys for playing. I have one final question for you guys. Musicians have the ability and the platform to leave marks on the world in various ways, either larger or smaller. What is the mark that you guys would like to make?
Mark I'd like to make.
I have a very simple answer. That's not even necessarily the deepest thing in the world. With our music or with my music or whatever, I can only speak for myself. I just want to inspire people. I know that sounds kind of lame, but what I mean by that is like, I was thinking about this the other day. Like if I can inspire, honestly, somebody just like me, like when I was in middle school, the way that I looked at some of these bands. And I was thinking the other day, I was driving, if I met like Tom York from Radiohead, and just thinking about if I could inspire somebody on a really, really deep level, hopefully many people, that's really the best thing I can do, period. You're just trying to make music, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I would really like to further just art. If I could be, my mark was I somehow pushed the envelope a little further somehow on some genre in some way, made an impact. That'd be pretty cool. I guess that's kind of the same thing.
No, for sure. No, that's different. We talk about that all the time. Yeah, pushing something forward, pushing art, pushing music forward. That's huge.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. Well, thank you guys for hanging out. If you want to plug your socials real quick, Glasshouse Point.
Yep.
Yeah, check out
Glasshouse Point, everything at Glasshouse Point.
Yeah, check out Glasshouse Point, Dylan Graham Creative. Check out our new singles, Wash Me Over and Always Fading.
Yeah. Add it to your Spotify playlist, Wash Me Over. Let's go.
Save it, like it, put it on the queue, put it on the queue, put it on the queue. Well, thank you guys for hanging out. It was great talking with you guys.
Cool, yeah, you too. Thank you so much.